Alright, now The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live is the most anticipated spin-off coming from the Walking Dead universe, and it deserves all the hype because Rick and Michonne are coming back. And, you know, just by seeing the trailers and the official trailer that they released a few days ago, it looks insanely good, even with the $82 million budget, which is insane for the Walking Dead universe, meaning that they could do much more with this series. They could bring much more characters, and also they could have very big set pieces and just insane moments that they could show off in this show. But in today's video, I'm going to be discussing which characters could be showing up in this show. And of course, these are all just theories and speculation, and just with some proof we got here and there with the other spin-offs and just the Walking Dead main show. So yeah, please stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And we have a goal in mind for 5,000 subscribers. So if you guys want to be part of that journey to 5,000 subscribers, please like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy the video. Thank you. Okay, now first let's get Daryl out of the way. And now Daryl's situation is that he's in France, and of course he was actually looking for Rick, and this is the character that everyone wants to see reuniting with Rick, right? Because again, like the situation that they were left in season 9, the way that Rick left, and also the remorse that Daryl felt. So they're not going to be showing a Rick and Daryl reunion anytime soon, and especially not in this show. There is a chance because of the cryptic scene that they showed in The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, where Carol was talking to Daryl on the radio and she said somebody came back. The big fan theory there is that Rick is the one that she named, right? She said Rick came back, and of course it's all speculation, right? But because the timeline is a bit messy for Daryl Dixon and The Ones Who Live, right? And of course Daryl Dixon is taking place after season 11's events of The Walking Dead main show, whereas The Ones Who Live is going to be jumping back and forth from, you know, season 9, season 10 of The Walking Dead, season 11, all the way up to present day. So Daryl being in this show is very unlikely, and also on top of that, to make matters worse, The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon is going to be having 2 more seasons. That is what I've heard, right? You know, season 2 is already confirmed, and apparently season 3 is already in early works, right? You know, they're just writing the script and all of that. That's what I heard. These are rumors at the end of the day. But if that is the case, then that means that Daryl is most likely not going to be meeting Rick for a while now. But there still is a slim chance for Daryl to show up, and that's because a couple of months ago we did get a picture on Instagram from Norman Reedus himself, right? And Norman Reedus was actually on the set of The Ones Who Live, and he actually took a picture with Andrew Lincoln. Now, of course, this could just mean that Norman just came to just visit Andrew Lincoln and just to say hi, and, you know, just to see the production of The Ones Who Live. Or he probably just has like one small part in the show. He probably has a post-credit scene, like Daryl is probably in the post-credit scene of this show, or he's probably going to be in the start of the show. And of course he's probably not going to meet Rick, but they're probably just going to show a little bit of Daryl here and there. If The Ones Who Live is taking place after the Daryl Dixon spinoff, right? Because again, like how I mentioned before, it's going to be jumping through timelines, and if Rick is still there even after the events of season 11, we could get a post-credit scene of Daryl and Carol coming back to America on a CRM helicopter or something like that, and then they actually go into the CRM itself, and of course they're not going to meet Rick, but it's going to be teasing towards some sort of crossover series or just something bigger that we'll be able to finally see these characters meet again. But personally, I don't think that Daryl is going to be showing up at all in this show, and that's just because it's going to spoil The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, right? And if we see any bit of Daryl in this show, like, you know, him coming back to America or something like that, that's fully gonna ruin, like, you know, season 2 and 3 of the Daryl Dixon spinoff. We're gonna know that, oh yeah, you know, he survived and Carol survived and they made it back to America on a CRM helicopter. So again, we would already know the end of the Daryl Dixon spinoff. The only way I could see them pull this off is that if we see a little bit of Daryl's journey before he actually gets taken to France, and we see him actually getting close to the CRM itself. That is a slight possibility there, but in my opinion, Daryl is not going to be showing up whatsoever in the show. And now the next characters I want to talk about are Madison and Alicia, and I don't remember the finale of Fear all that well. It was pretty forgettable, but for all I remember is that Alicia and Madison, they're on their way to Los Angeles, and Fear Season 8 takes place in Georgia. Now, I've actually like seen the like the distance between Georgia and Los Angeles, and that takes 35 hours. And Georgia from Philadelphia, where Rick is, where the CRM is, it takes about like 13 to 14 hours. Now, take that into consideration. It's because like they could either go up from Georgia to Philadelphia, which is way closer, or they could just go across the whole country and make it to Los Angeles. Now, it like Philadelphia does not come in the way, right? It's either one or the other. So again, Madison and Alicia, I've seen a lot of theories that people are saying that they could show up, and that's because like Al is with a CRM agent now, with a CRM soldier now, and she has a chance to actually show up. I'll get into Al later on, but you know, there could be a link there because even she's a fear character and Madison and Alicia are of course fear characters, so they could probably get taken by the CRM in the middle of their travel and be transferred to Philadelphia. But in my opinion, I think that this is setting up towards a Madison and Alicia spin-off, if anything, and their travel to Los Angeles, where fear actually did start. So in my opinion, Alicia and Madison are not going to be in The Ones Who Live, but they could potentially be in whatever crossover event that they have in mind. And now let's get into Al. And as we all know, in Fear the Walking Dead Season 7, Al actually does leave the group and she does get with a CRM soldier. And then they actually do take a CRM helicopter and find a secluded place to stay away from the CRM. And now, I've seen some theories, and some very nice people in my comment section for the trailer breakdown video actually did point out that the theory I made about like a CRM civil war is very possible, and the helicopter we do see in the trailer blowing up the other CRM helicopter looks a lot like what Al's girlfriend actually did have, right? It looks a lot like that helicopter that was in Fear the Walking Dead. So it is possible that Al and her girlfriend could actually be setting up sort of like rebellion against the CRM, and then they actually do start a war against the CRM like in the shadows. And of course, two people alone can't take on the whole CRM in general. So that's where Rick and Michonne come in, and the rest of the CRM soldiers who are actually against Major General Beale. They could form a whole rebellion alliance against the CRM, against Major General Beale, maybe even Jadis as well, and then they actually take on the CRM. I think that that is more possible. And that's because, like, we don't know Al's location as of the moment, and we do know that they do have access to a CRM helicopter, so they could fly to Philadelphia. So it is possible that Al could show up in The Ones Who Live, but, you know, I wouldn't hold my breath for that, and that's because Al is not a significant character, right? And of course, like, her story is very interesting, and where she went and her whole link with the CRM and potentially her meeting Rick is a very, very interesting concept. But in my opinion, I don't think that they would actually put Al's story in there and mix it all up with like Rick and Michonne's story, and that's mainly because she's not that much of a significant character. In my opinion, no fear character is as significant as a mainline Walking Dead character, so I don't think that they would put a fear character in here, and only just one or two come to mind that would actually make sense to show up in this show. But Al would be very interesting. Al would also make sense to show up in the show, but in my opinion, I don't think that she would show up, but you know, it's a 50-50 chance. And now let's get into everyone else in the Commonwealth and Alexandria. This is counting Ezekiel, Eugene, Aaron, Gabriel, potentially Carol as well. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there are a lot of rumors that The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live is going to be ending off with Rick and Michonne going back to Alexandria or the Commonwealth. And of course, if you take into consideration that one scene in The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, where Carol and Daryl are talking on the radio and Carol says somebody came back. And of course, like I mentioned before, there are a lot of theories saying that Rick came back, right? Carol is saying Rick's name, and that is very possible, right? Daryl Dixon could be the most recent spin-off timeline-wise, and if you think about that, and if you take into consideration The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live is jumping between, like, times, right? It's jumping between Season 9, Season 10, the present in Season 11, and of course, Daryl left at the end of Season 11, and if Rick and Michonne make it back to Alexandria, we could see all of these characters. We could see Eugene, Ezekiel, Carol, we could see Aaron, Gabriel, except for Daryl. And then we see the other line, right? We see Carol's perspective of that radio transmission, and she's talking to Daryl saying that Rick came back. And it could potentially be a journey to find Daryl after that. And I think I've seen some behind the scenes pictures. Take this with a grain of salt, and of course, if this does turn out to be true, spoiler warning, but I think I saw some behind the scenes of Rick and Michonne actually making it back to Alexandria, and they're standing in front of their home. That was in season 9. And if that is the case, then Rick and Michonne are going to end up in Alexandria at the end of The Ones Who Live. And also, if The Ones Who Live is only one season, which it seems very possible that that's the case, they could have a very nice ending to that show where Rick reunites with everyone else, except for, of course, Daryl, Negan, and Maggie, and he's just gonna meet like Carol and the rest of the group, and then he finds out everything about the Commonwealth and just everything that happened while he was gone. But if we were to go into this possibility, if Rick actually makes it back to Alexandria with everyone else, I don't think that would be the end of the CRM. And I think that the radio transmission, I did make this theory before when I actually did talk about the transmission, and if Carol did say if Rick came back, and if that's the case, it's either one of two things. It's either Rick came back as a CRM soldier, or he came back just normally with Michonne, but he warns everyone about the CRM, and that actually drives Carol to go and look for Daryl, because they need everybody that they have, and Daryl being one of the strongest ones that they have, she needs him as well. Like all of Commonwealth and Alexandria, they do need Daryl on their side as well. And I think that would be a very cool concept, is because like the CRM are so big, and they've been building upon the CRM for so long, and I don't think that it's going to be the end of them in The Ones Who Live. I don't think Rick and Michonne are going to single-handedly take down the CRM, and then it's just the end of the story right there. I think that the CRM are still going to be showing up in a lot of other spin-offs, and it's going to conclude with the big spin-off series. And I think that if Rick were to go back to Alexandria, I think that that ending right there would actually tease the crossover series. And now let's get into the most likely character to show up in The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, and of course I am talking about Morgan Jones. And I've made a couple of theories before that Morgan is going to show up in The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, and that's solely because of his ending in Fear the Walking Dead Season 8, where he's trying to reach out to Rick through a walkie-talkie, through a radio transmission, basically like how Rick did in Season 1 of The Walking Dead, where he told Morgan that, every day at dawn I'm going to radio in, I'm going to try getting a hold of you. Now, Morgan is doing the same thing here, and he's actually on an active journey to go look for Rick, like how Michonne was, or like how Daryl was. And Michonne actually did reunite with Rick, and Daryl is not able to reunite with Rick because he's in France. And the only character that's left is Morgan, and Morgan and Rick have such a close attachment, right? They have such a close link. They're always linked in some way, because Morgan is basically like Rick Grimes in Fear the Walking Dead, and these characters have always seemed so close. Rick has always seemed to actually care about Morgan, because again, Morgan was the first character that Rick met in the apocalypse, and he respects him for that, and he actually does care about Morgan. So it would be very nice to see Morgan in The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, and that's also because Morgan actually does have a connection to the CRM as well. He actually did fight the CRM face to face, and also he did end up killing a few CRM soldiers. So Morgan does know about the CRM. He did have some experience with some CRM soldiers. We can't say that about Daryl, Negan, and any other character like that, right? So Morgan makes the most sense to show up in the show, and I think that he's going to be showing up in a post-credit scene like how Carol did in The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. We're going to be seeing a scene of Morgan actually looking for Rick, and he probably comes across the CRM community, right? The CRM base. And because Georgia and Philadelphia are actually pretty close, right? It's a 13-hour drive. So Morgan and Mo, they could probably just get onto a car and go up, and they could actually go to Philadelphia. And I think that that makes a lot of sense, because again, Morgan was in Georgia. He was in King County in Season 8 of Fear the Walking Dead, and it's pretty close to Philadelphia. And of course, Rick is in Philadelphia, and I think that we're going to be getting the same type of treatment with Morgan like how we did with Carol, but I think here Morgan is just going to be coming across Rick, or he's just going to be coming across some CRM soldiers who take Morgan and Mo with them. And I think that that would be very, very hype to see. Like just imagine seeing Morgan at the end of The Ones Who Live, just basically as a post-credit scene from the MCU, right? Something that no one has expected before, and then Morgan just shows up, right? And I think that would be very hype, is because like how I said before, that Fear characters don't make sense to show up in the show. They're not that significant, but Morgan actually did show up in both Fear the Walking Dead and the Walking Dead main show, which does make him a major character. A lot of people don't know that Morgan is a pretty significant character in the Walking Dead universe. So, and then also you put into consideration his connection with Rick Grimes. He is the perfect fit to actually show up in the show, other than Michonne and Rick himself. So yeah, like I think that with the open-ended ending in season 8 of Fear the Walking Dead, and also just with Morgan's whole journey to go look for Rick, I think we're going to be seeing that in The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. I don't think he's going to meet Rick face to face, but we're just going to get like a scene of Morgan and his journey with Mo to the CRM base. And of course Morgan knows about the CRM, so he knows exactly what type of trouble Rick is in. So yeah, me personally, I think that Morgan is the most likely character to show up in The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, out of all of the other characters, even more than Daryl, even more than Carol, or like anybody else from the Commonwealth, like Ezekiel and stuff like that. I think Morgan would be the one to show up and to actually tease this whole CRM war, right? Because again, like if we take into consideration again that same scene from Daryl Dixon, right, like where Carol says somebody came back, right, a lot of people are saying it's Rick, but also it could be Morgan, right? And Morgan could possibly come across a CRM base. He could possibly see Rick in a CRM attire, maybe as a soldier or as the worker uniform, as we've been seeing in all the trailers. Morgan comes back to the Commonwealth or Alexandria, and then, like, you know, he warns everyone that, you know, Rick is in the CRM. This is what the CRM is, right? That this is how much trouble he's in, so we gotta go save him, or we gotta prepare for a war against the CRM. And then this is where Carol actually does radio in transmission Daryl that Morgan came back, right? Because again, like, it's not set which character's name did she say. It could be any character whatsoever, right? It could be Rick, it could be Morgan, it could be Dwight, right? But like me personally, I think she said Rick, but it would be very cool if she said Morgan, because then that would give Morgan even a bigger part in whatever crossover series they're going to be doing. And now that's it for today's video. I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And if you guys liked the theories I presented in this video, please hit that like button. Comment down which one of these theories was your favorite, or even if they made sense at all. And yeah, you know, just comment down your own theories. You know, I would love to hear them, because like this is a topic that not that many people have actually talked about. Is because this show is more of a Rick and Michonne show, and just seeing any other character seems a little off. But in my opinion, it'd be very hype to see another character from the Walking Dead universe show up in this show. So yeah, please comment down your own thoughts about like your own theories, and just about these theories if you guys want to build upon it. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.